from and engage in an enthralling conversation with two Saraswat beacons, Ms. Sonia Shenoy and Reema Tendulkar, who have soared the skies and achieved outstanding success in the field of news media. I am Advocate Utkarsh Muzumdar, and it is a privilege to be your co-host for today's event. Thank you everyone for being part of this extraordinary gathering. Let us start the event by invoking the blessings of Ma Saraswati, the goddess of knowledge and wisdom, who has bestowed her abundant blessings on all of us. I would like to call on stage Mrs. Shraddha Sinkar to offer a Saraswati Vandana to Ma Saraswati.
या कुन्देन्दु तुषारहारधवला या शुभ्रवस्त्रावृता या वीणावर दण्डमण्डितकरा या श्वेतपद्मासना या ब्रह्माच्युतशङ्कर प्रभृतिभिः देवैः सदा वन्दिता सा मां पातु सरस्वती भगवती निःशेषजाड्यापहा निःशेषजाड्यापहा. Thank you.
That was lovely, Shraddha Tai. Thank you. Keeping our rich heritage, culture, and traditions in mind, we shall now perform the Deep Prajwalan. I request all the esteemed members and guests to please come on stage and perform the Deep Prajwalan. May I call on stage our beacons, Ms. Shenoy, Ms. Tendulkar, also our director, Mr. Siddharth Sinkar, and Mr. Aniruddha Walawalkar. Huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, for over 2.5 decades, Mr. Amit Pandit, one of our directors of the Global Chamber of Saraswat Entrepreneurs, has demonstrated experience spanning across multiple industries in the finance sector. He started his career in investment banking, helping companies raise money, and handled several IPOs. He then moved to handling restructuring of business units, help corporates improve business process controls, and help them develop risk mitigation strategies. He has served as a board member for over 10 years in companies including a bank, a listed company, and a mutual fund. He helps businesses and people improve their financial health. Please join me in giving a huge round of applause to Mr. Amit Pandit.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I have a limited task of introducing our chamber. We initiated the forming of the chamber in 2019. From 2019 till date, we have moved from strength to strength. Initially, we started the entire activity in this very hall. We started in Jan 2019. A few of us gathered here to discuss about what we need to do in the chamber. The objective of the chamber is to get Saraswat brethren together in business, in profession, so together we can help each other grow. See, there are multiple communities in India who do business, and one specific community which is known for good business, is the Marwadi community. The community has an untold rule. There is no written documented rule per se, but there is a rule that any businessman who has a problem, the community support comes together to help him out. Now, this is something which is not mentioned, not documented, and they have been following this for generations together, ages together. Recently, the other communities have also started, namely the Jains. I had spoken about it last time as well. But the key factor of building the chamber was on similar lines. Get our community together. We have our cultural houses, we have a lot of community systems for culture, but there was not a single mechanism where the business people were put together. And that is why the start of the chamber. Yes, we have gone through many things. We started just pre-COVID, 2019, and 2020 was COVID. But then we still we got a lot of online programs running. We have been supported. See, as a chamber, we are a Section 8 company. Section 8 company means we don't have our own capital. But yeah, we have been supported and funded by Saraswat Bank from day one. So one of the directors, Mr. Umrudkar, is here. Thank you, Mr. Umrudkar. So Saraswat Bank has been a support, a very, very strong pillar of support for us. And yes, then we have the rest of the sponsors. We have Naturals, we have Entod, we have NKGSB to some extent, we have SVC to some extent. So people are coming together to help grow the chamber. Our objective is always look at what we can do for business. Now, yes, we are just starting the whole thing. So we are at the beginning, or you can say we are in a nascent stage. But yes, we want to grow. Our intention is to make this global. Our intention is to have the chamber known across the world. And see, our community is very strong, very intelligent. We have known faces across multiple areas. But we need to come together. Then only, once independence is good, but interdependence is what takes you to the next level. So our objective of the chamber has been that. I will not take much time because everybody is awaiting today's session. So in short, our only request to all is try to get as many people from the community to the chamber. We want to make them members. So in short, we can go further. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Pandit. Ladies and gentlemen, let us now delve into our main event for the day. Guiding us through this enlightening and inspirational conversation is your host and moderator, Mrs. Prerna Lotlikar. She pursued an engineering degree in computer science from the prestigious VJTI Institute in Mumbai, completed her post-graduation in finance, has acquired a CFA certification, and is also a CFA charter holder. She started off by conducting fundamental research in Indian stocks for close to a decade to serve clients based out of Hong Kong and Switzerland, post which she moved on to the wealth management vertical. She is currently associated with HSBC Global Private Banking, wherein she advises HNI and ultra HNIs to develop investment portfolios that are aligned with their long-term goals and objectives. She is the co-founder and trustee of Ajit Lotlikar Charitable Trust, a non-profit organization founded in the memory of her late father, which endeavors to financially aid economically backward children suffering from cancer. Ladies and gentlemen, round of applause for your host and moderator for this evening, Mrs. Prerna Lotlikar.
thank you, Saraswat Chamber, especially Siddharth Sinkar, for giving me this opportunity to conduct a discussion with our esteemed panelists for the evening. So without wasting much time, I'll give a quick introduction of our guest for the evening. Our first guest is Ms. Sonia Shenoy. Born in Mumbai, raised in Bahrain, Sonia returned back to Mumbai to pursue her bachelor's in management from the prestigious Nursi Monji College of Commerce and Economics. After a short stint with Thomson Reuters, she joined CNBC as an anchor, and there's been no looking back since then. She's been associated with CNBC TV 18 for close to 15 years now and has been elevated to an assistant executive editor and deputy head of research for the channel. Along with conducting fundamental research for sectors like auto and real estate, she also co-anchors primetime market shows like Bazaar Morning Call, Halftime Report, Markets Today, which encapsulate all the happenings of the stock market of that day, along with the Editors Roundtable, a weekly show that gives an editorial take on the big headlines of the week. She also plans and hosts a weekly investor education show, Smart Money, that focuses on investor education and financial literacy. Sonia has interviewed more than 100 corporate leaders and experts of national and international repute. Not just that, she also hosts her own podcast wherein she interviews young entrepreneurs about the growth and opportunities in the startup ecosystem. She enjoys a huge follower base of more than 50 lakh followers across various social media platforms. On the personal front, Sonia is married to Karan Surma, founder of a boutique firm specializing in building handcrafted luxury experiences and events for H&I families, fashion brands, and media houses. And she's also a mother to an adorable 6-year-old who's present here. While she's away from her workspace, she loves listening to music and prefers reading. Sonia has been awarded the 40 Under 40 Excellence in Business Media Award by the Exchange for Media and has also been a recipient of the Young Professional of the Year by ENBA. So ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to welcome the extremely gorgeous and supremely talented Sonia Shenoy. Our second guest for the evening is Ms. Reema Tendulkar. Born and brought up in Mumbai, Reema's background, especially on the academic front, is worth boasting about. She's amongst the toppers from Arya Vidya Mandir, Juhu, and a gold medalist from one of Mumbai's finest engineering colleges, DJ Sanghvi College of Engineering. She also holds globally recognized certifications like the Chartered Financial Analyst and a Financial Risk Manager certification. Post her graduation in the technology space, Reema took an audacious call to join the media industry, and her journey over the last 15 plus years has been nothing but inspiring. Reema is currently associated with CNBC TV 18 in the capacity of a markets anchor and editor of research. She has been hosting daily prime shows such as Trading Hour and Markets Radar since 2008. She leads fundamental research on key sectors like information technology and telecommunication services. A tech enthusiast herself, she hosts conversation with tech leaders, entrepreneurs, and futurists on social media, decoding complex technology developments and how they're transforming businesses and reshaping our lives. She also hosts a tech podcast and conducts shows on technology and digital transformation. Like Sonia, Reema is also the winner of 2022 E4M 40 Under 40 for excellence in media journalism. On the personal front, Reema is married to Gaurav Gupte, partner at a highly reputed law firm, Cyril Amarchand Mangaldas, popularly known as CAM, and is mother to 2 little cute munchkins. So dear audience, please put your hands together in welcoming the equally gorgeous and supremely talented Reema Tendulkar. So thank you everyone for joining in, and thank you Reema and Sonia for taking the time and making it for this event. We'll keep it very simple. We want you to do most of the talking, so I have a relatively easier task here. So Reema, let's begin with you. We'd love to know your journey, right? How did you transition from engineering to a career in media and anchoring? And what sparked interest in financial journalism? And I'm talking about a time when this was like 15 years back, right? When financial journalism wasn't even considered that mainstream. So what motivated you and how did you get here?
So thank you, the Saraswat Chamber, for calling me, thinking me worthy enough to come and talk with in front of all of you. When first Siddharth called me, I was thinking, why me? You know, you've got the best of the best, right? Sitting next to me, so why me? What do I have to contribute and talk in front of all of you? And then it struck me that the whole idea is that we all lean in. You know, we don't hold ourselves back and we acknowledge and do our bit. So then I was like, okay, so although she's here and she's my favorite co-anchor, so it's lovely sharing it with you here. So thank you once again. It's an absolute honor and privilege. You know, to your question on the journey transitioning from engineering to media, it's actually a very simple story of applying and getting in. Unlike children today who are so sure of what they want to be when they're growing up and they walk towards achieving that dream, whether it's building, padding up your resume, taking the right internships, learning the right skills. Back in the day when we were growing up, it wasn't like that. I'm an engineer by education. I didn't quite enjoy it, so I joined a financial firm called Edelweiss for a few months, where CNBC TV18 was on all the time, 24/7. And I thought maybe that could be fascinating. So I applied and got in. So luck has a big role to play in me applying and being here. But then the journey of the last 15 years has a lot of hard work, grit, and determination. So as they say, luck favors the prepared. So I think it's just maybe serendipity, luck, but luck with a lot of hard work.
Okay, so just a trivia here. I know Reema for more than 30 years now, and anyone who knows Reema can vouch for how hardworking, disciplined, and goal-oriented she is.
Yeah.
So once she sets her mind into something, there's no way she's not going to achieve it. So she's that one person during our childhood, you know, because of which our parents used to say, look at her, you should be like her. And, you know, I remember that, and, you know, that is really inspiring. So Sonia, we'd love to know your journey too. So after studying business administration, was this like the next natural step for you? Were you thought you were always made for this, or was it more of an incidental in nature that you got in over here?
So at the onset, I just want to say thank you so much everyone for inviting me here. I feel truly honored and privileged to be a part of you know, all of you here and a part of this ecosystem, right? I mean, business journalism, as Reema was also saying, you were saying, it was in its infancy when we started, and now it's sort of come a really long way. And by the way, Reema says it's luck and hard work, but I think she forgot one thing, which is she's extremely talented.
Absolutely.
So talent has a big role to play. So I'm really, I'm privileged to be her colleague for like over 15 years
16
now.
years now.
16 years now, and more than colleagues, we are friends. We've, you know, seen each other through thick and thin, and through our journeys of just being colleagues and
Getting
having,
married together.
No, before that having boyfriends and then getting married. Then having
We'd love to know a little bit of that as well later
We
on.
got pregnant also at the same time.
So we've kind of gone through the whole phase, but I think one thing that really worked for her and me is consistency, like doing the same thing over and over again and finally kind of, you know, becoming good at it maybe. Because for me, I came from a background where I did management studies. I was very interested in journalism from the very beginning. I always wanted to write. I used to write for Education Times. At that time, there used to be the supplement in the Times of India. So I used to work for them when I was in college. And then I got a job with Reuters. I had a friend who was in CNBC who called me and said, you know, Sonia, there is this opening. Why don't you try? Now that friend of ours is in America. But he was the one, he said, you know what, just give it a shot. I said, I don't even know the Nifty 50 components. So I have no clue. I have never done any investing. You know, I learned everything on the job. But he said, you know what, it's the right place at the right time. There are two people who are ready to leave. So there is a space vacant for you. Just come, jump in, and then you take it from there. So I think I just, every opportunity that came my way, I may not have had the talent for it at that time. But I just jumped into it and I decided that, you know, I'll just give it a shot, and that's how my journey began.
Absolutely. That is super inspiring. So now, while we're talking about your journey, right, a lot has changed in these 15 years since the time you guys started. So could you take us through some of the changes that you guys have seen under your eyes since the time you started and where we are right now?
I think social media, the influx of social media is the biggest change that we've seen right in front of our eyes over the past decade. And social media is a boon and a bane. On one hand, we have news on our fingertips, which we can leverage. But so that's a big positive. Two, all the effort that we put in is broadcast on a multimedia. So it's not just TV, but now you will be available on Twitter, you will be available on Instagram. So the reach has gone up manifold because of social media. But the downside is that every person on social media can be a journalist. Tomorrow you can tweet and say that, oh, XYZ stock is very good, this stock is very good. So it's very important that we as journalists from credible organizations are able to differentiate the fiction from the fact. That ultimately we're a news organization and we're not a noise organization. And we have to realize that. So, social media is like a double-edged sword, and I think that's the biggest change that comes to my mind.
Absolutely. So, for me, I think I've seen this whole news industry over the last 15 years change a lot, right? Earlier, if there was one platform where you could watch your news, which was television,
Yes.
now there are so many
many.
platforms, right? So it's very important, and I speak in a lot of forums as well, where we talk to younger audiences who want to enter this career, and I say that this has become so fragmented. It's become so commoditized, right? There is news available everywhere, and there's also a lot of paid news. So now you don't know where the genuine source of news is coming from, which has made it very hard for current journalists.
Absolutely.
And if you notice, the industry also is kind of narrowing now. It's consolidating. There are larger players buying a lot of organizations. So it's a very tough industry, and it's also an industry which is it may look very glamorous from the outside because we're always sitting with makeup and hair done and in front of the television. But behind the scenes is a different ballgame altogether.
I'm sure.
I mean, I can tell you for a fact that Reema and me, for the last 15 years, have been waking up at 5:45
I was actually going to come to that.
a.m. with not a day off except Saturday and Sunday. Now our body clocks are such, even on Saturday and Sunday, we're waking up at 6 a.m.,
We have come to work whether we've got a cough, cold, fever, because last minute you can't call and say 6 a.m. Oh, I'm not feeling so well. Oh, my child is unwell, because the show must go on.
The show
So
must
we've
go on.
actually come, every single day except if it's a planned holiday.
Yeah.
So that's where I was coming from. When you're on camera, you guys literally, your presence exudes effortless journalism, right? And you guys deliver it with a smile. So, but behind the scenes, I'm sure it's a completely different ball game altogether. So typically, how does your day look like? Because normally when I reach my office at around 8:30, 8:45, you guys are already on television delivering news, and I am barely able to make it by 8:30. So if you could just take us through how your day typically looks like, and then, maybe both of you can tell us a little bit about it.
So I
Exactly the same. Yeah.
we wake up, like, first thing, come on, there's a lot of research that goes behind.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me now? Okay, great. So there's a lot of research that goes behind our daily news. We do different shows, we track different sectors. We do a lot of research the previous night as well. We wake up in the morning, then of course get ready, and then we have our shows. The markets are from 9 to 3 and then 3:30, and then post that we get back home. Then we have work in the evening as well. But I think what keeps it fun, and I think what's kept me going for 15 years now, almost 16 years, is that every day there's something new. There's something new to learn. There's something new to to understand. And I don't know if Reema feels this, but when I'm on air, it's kind of meditative for me in a way, because I'm only doing that one thing. You can't think of anything else. And they say that your mind, the biggest problem is we overthink, right?
Yeah.
So when you're just sitting, your mind cannot rest. But when you're working, you can only do that one thing, and hence that that is kind of meditative for me, because it helps me kind of focus on just one thing. I think that's what's kept me going. And of course, the basic challenge that every day you learn something new, you get access to so many people. I don't think in my lifetime I would have gotten access to corporate leaders, business leaders, startup owners, investment bankers, economists, world,
Fund managers and everything,
economic
right?
observers. So all of that, and then that helps you broaden your, mind spaces.
No, I agree. I think our days are very similar. But we have a day job which is sort of like, 6 o'clock onwards or 5 o'clock onwards till 4:30. But both of us also have a mommy job. And I think that, what she said about the day job is bang on, right? Everything that she said. But there is also this, the mother job that we do, the mommy job, and that's 24/7. And when you add the two together, you marry the two together, you're always multitasking. You're wearing multiple masks, you're doing multiple things. So sometimes, even in the middle of shows, I shouldn't be saying this, but I'm literally SMSing and WhatsApping the nannies that, reminder, Neil has to go for this class at 3 o'clock, feed him XYZ. So, that is also going on simultaneously. That's an integral part of, the life that we're living now.
So that's exactly where I was coming to. How do you girls balance your personal and professional lives? Because so I have a 4-year-old at home, and typically when I'm traveling or if 4 to 5 days are back to back are hectic, then all the tantrums start throwing up, and then they demand your time. So how do you girls manage this?
There is no balance.
There's no balance.
You cannot win all battles. So I have this, I keep telling my husband this also, that I have this theory of 80%. So I'm 80% good at everything, not 100% good at anything. So
I'm sure you're great at what you do.
I try my best to be 80% at work, 80% at home, 80% in my marriage, and sometimes 50%, but it's never 100% anywhere. And I think you have to make your peace with that, because you can't be everything everywhere all at once.
It's about priorities, right?
It's about priorities, and it's also this thing somebody once told me actually that you are like a juggler. You have balls that you're juggling every day, and some of those balls are made of glass and some of them are made of rubber. Now you need to decide which balls are made of glass. So for me, the balls made of glass are my child, my marriage, my family, my parents, and to some extent the balls made of rubber are my job, my friends. So if the rubber balls fall once in a while, you don't do well at your work, it's okay. But the priorities are, your family, your child, your marriage, and yourself. I mean, more than anything else, yourself. Because if you are not happy, nobody around you is going to be happy. So, yeah, I guess there is no balance.
And while we're talking about balance, you also are very active on social media, right? You keep posting, and so with so much on your plate, how do you take on that additional thing? So is that what also keeps you going, or does that come naturally to you? Because you're very active on social media. I also follow you a lot. So how do you just manage everything?
So, I feel as a news anchor or as a journalist, right? As we were coming back to that earlier debate, I feel like now if you don't have your presence on, if you don't make that transition, you will become redundant. Because not too many people are watching TV, not too many people, to be honest, TV viewership has fallen a lot. And what you have done for 15 years counts for nothing because the eyeballs have shifted. And now because the eyeballs have shifted, it's only in your best interest to shift as well. If you don't make that shift, like everybody reimagines themselves. In fact, there was this one interview I was doing of the TVS Motor chairman, Mr. Sudarshan Venu. Venu Srinivasan, Sudarshan Venu's father, he's now I think 65. He said one statement which really stuck with me. He said, every 15 years, I do something different. I'm running a multi-billion-dollar company, but still I reinvent myself every 15 years because otherwise I will become redundant. So, I feel now with the way things are changing, none of us, I'm sure nobody here watches TV as much as they would have maybe 10 years ago. So I feel social media gives us this reach, little bit of, a connect with the audience that we perhaps had on TV earlier. Like I'll give you this one incident, it's really funny. So I was traveling somewhere and I met this one guy came up to me and he said, "Oh, hi Sonia." I said, "Hi, how are you?" He said, "Oh, you know what? I'm a big fan and all of that." And he said, "I used to be a big fan of yours when you were on TV." I said, "But I'm still on TV. It's just that you don't watch it anymore." So, that stuck with me. Like, people are not watching TV anymore. And so that's why I sort of made this shift. I do a little bit of content on social media as well, just to stay relevant and to keep the, the eyeballs that are shifting.
So while we're on social media, see, clearly most of your followers admire you, right? But sometimes your followers can get a bit nasty or troll, and sometimes, fame calls for jealousy or hatred. But how do you kind of look at that? Do you view it as constructive criticism, or do you just ignore that? Do you read the comments, or what's your reaction to that?
So I think thankfully business journalists don't get that trolled, because at the end of the day we are providing information, and I've realized that information today is power, you know, and people don't get access to good information online. There's a lot of stuff that is being peddled in the name of, like, say, brand deals and paid partnerships and all. So if you give someone information that they don't have, then you don't really get trolled as much. Thankfully I have not been trolled as much. It's largely factual information that we're putting out. But the other thing is that I really don't let anyone's opinions bother me. So I've decided, way back in my life that I don't even let myself get in the way of me. So I don't, other people come to you, they say a lot of things. I'm sure even Rima faces it, where, you get to hear a lot of things from a lot of people, but you just got to kind of create that, filter and, not really react or respond to other people's opinions, because their opinion is their problem. Yeah, it's not your problem.
But business media is honestly very civilized. What you're talking about is more in general news. We're talking about numbers. As she said, we're talking about facts. So you don't often get a lot of negative criticism for that. It's when you talk about politics, ideology, and people are fanatics, that's when you get trolled. So general news is very often a shouting match, if you watch the shows, if anyone watches it. But business media per se is extremely civilized, very professional.
Right.
So there's one more thing, actually. Something that I realized in COVID was when I had started my social media kind of journey, is that people in COVID had suddenly, lost their work and businesses and all, and everybody was coming to the stock market to make money. And that time I realized how much financial illiteracy there is. Like, people have no idea about how to make money, how to invest their money, how to grow their money. So I feel like that is a huge area that can be still worked upon, like especially women, right? I know so many women who are breadwinners of the family, but they still
can't make decisions on their own.
not only can't make decisions, all their decisions are made by the men in their family, which is fine, but you need to be aware of what is happening with your money. And I feel that was a big focus area. So when we got into financial literacy, and through my show on TV as well, I realized that people are very receptive, because they just, even our generation, right, we were never taught how to manage our money. We were never taught how to earn money in school or colleges. And suddenly you have to pay your taxes, and suddenly you have to invest your money. And so I think that was a big area of development.
So I think you're also doing a webinar, right, on financial freedom for beginners. If you want to just talk about it, so I think that's an opportunity for all our viewers right here. So if you want to participate, the early bird offer is still on, I guess. So Sonia is doing a show, I think it's on the 11th of May.
Yes.
Yeah. So she's doing a show called Financial Freedom for Beginners, wherein she'll get guests from the corporate world in terms of, talking about how to start your financial journey, how do you do your asset allocation. Sonia, if you could elaborate a bit on that.
So it's basically a course. It's like a 4-hour program, which we're doing on the 11th of May, and it's online. So it's just to help people to achieve financial freedom. So it's everything from investing your money to what insurance you should buy, to what you should not do, to retirement planning, because it's big now. Everybody wants to retire, and everybody wants to live a life away from corporate slavery. So that's also I have 3 experts also who are joining me. And it's a great learning experience for me, because this is something I'm doing for the first time.
That's great. I think I'm going to register for it. And
You
guys,
must.
I think you can pick up your phones and register for it as well.
Thank you. You must.
So while we are on this, it's so much on your plate, how do you guys remain so calm and composed? Do you guys practice some form of meditation, or, what does Rima do to rejuvenate herself?
Well, for me, physical exercise. I think that is something which is very dear to me. I've always enjoyed it. And now that the kids are a little older, I'm getting back to it with renewed vigor. So I've always been active my whole life. But now I've started going to the gym. I'm learning tennis. I have a group which plays badminton. So every single day, That's some time which is my time.
Absolutely.
That's the only time in the day when my phone is away from me. The children are in the garden, so it's only done when the children are not at home. So it's not time taken away from them, which is important to me. But I think it's the biggest stress buster for me today.
So you do that in the evenings normally?
In the evenings. Every single evening I try, if I can, I try and find
Fine.
some form.
That's amazing. How about you, Sonia?
So by the way, someone was telling me the other day that they saw Rima in the gym, and and they said, I was feeling so. I looked at Rima and I'm like, oh my god, I need to also work out faster. Look at her, like she's a mother of 2 kids and she looks like that. And then I went back home and then my wife told me, did you see Rima? She comes to the gym every day. You should also go to the gym every day. So she's really motivating people to get to the gym and to be fit. For me, as well, I do a little bit of yoga. I play tennis, and yeah, that's about it. I mean, working out like 2-3 times a week and just keeping it going. Yeah.
So it's great to know that you guys are finding time for yourselves as well while maintaining this,
But it
super
is hard.
busy.
It's hard. It's not easy to kind of take that time out. And I'm sure for her with 2 kids, it must be even tougher because there's a lot more on your plate.
But self-care is not being selfish. I'll just repeat it. Self-care is not being selfish. And I think that is something we all must learn, especially women. We put everything above us, right, in front of us, whether it's your home, managing, even the didis are above. In my priority list, the 2 nannies who help me manage the kids while I'm at work are way on top. So but at some point, I think you have to realize that,
And if you break down, then the whole system collapses,
the system
right?
breaks down. And it's important for you to also look after yourself and do something which gives you happiness.
Right. So it's tennis for both of you, right?
I'm learning. She's a pro.
So I started playing tennis a year ago. So my husband actually introduced me to tennis. He started playing tennis a lot. Actually, we had a bit of a kind of a medical issue with my son when he was a little younger. So both me and my husband were trying to cope with that. He fell sick and he had to get a surgery done and all of that, and it was very challenging for both of us. So my husband got very affected mentally. So for our mental health more than our physical health, we started playing tennis. And it became like medicine for us because just any sport, right? I mean, any sport, you get those endorphins and all of that. So then it became such a priority that now, whether there are any plans on the weekend, anything like just people coming, parties, that we make sure we carve out that 1 hour and we both go and we play tennis together. And now we've enrolled our son also into tennis classes.
Amazing.
So, yeah.
That's amazing.
Oh, he's I don't know whether he likes it. He's forced to do it, but we are trying.
I'm sure he's enjoying it. So that's the case with my husband too. So, he's a trader. So it's extremely hectic for him during the weeks. And the only thing that's a stress buster for him is tennis. There's nothing else.
I must tell you this. On the tennis court, we have 5 tennis courts in our club, out of which there are 10 people who come or 15 people who come. 8 of them are in the finance field. And they're like 6:30 in the morning, we're on the trading desk, and 6 in the evening, we're on the tennis court. Because they need to kind of bust that stress, right, that comes with the profession.
So, for the first 10 months after I finished engineering, I joined Edelweiss, where I was in the trading desk. And the first thing someone told me was that, see, between 9:15 and 3:30, you can't even go to the washroom. That was the first instruction. I was like, that's stressful, Just the thought. He's like, no, you can't leave the desk. You have to sit. Don't drink water, but you can't leave. It's like, okay.
That's quite cruel.
So that's very stressful.
So okay, let's move on. So you guys are continuously interviewing and interacting with a lot of eminent personalities, right? So if you could take us through some of your experiences. So, each one of you can take us to that. But Sonia, I remember you had the opportunity to meet our Honorable Finance Minister, Shri Nirmala Sitharaman.
Yes.
So if you could, at the Vibrant Gujarat Summit, right? So if you could talk a little bit about that, it's a surreal experience, right? Were you nervous? How did you prepare for it? And how was it like?
So it was amazing. It was amazing to meet her because to learn from her how being a woman at the top and how she balances so much. And of course, with the way, so by the way, every political personality that I've interacted with, their political biases aside, just to learn from them how they do policy making, how what happens with the government. I mean, we don't have access to that, right? Just absorbing their energies is enough. And I think this current government has done so much by way of, say, infrastructure for women, for growth. Just see Mumbai, right? What all is being done by way of roads, coastal road, Atal Setu, all of that. So when I met her, her main focus area was on infrastructure, on development, and all of that. So I learned a lot from her, and even all the other corporates that we speak to, right? I think the best part is every person goes through setbacks. See, you see another person's life, and you feel, oh, this CEO of this company is worth 5,000 crores, he's worth 6,000 crores, and look at me, I'm going every day and listening to my boss yelling at me, and but I've realized over all the interactions that every person has a boss sitting on their head. Either it is their shareholders, or it is their other stakeholders, or their investors. And at the end of the day, everybody has the same stress, everybody has the same challenges. It's just what you make of your life, right? So it's really interesting. So I've started looking at every corporate leader from that lens as to what I can take back from them, not just the learnings about the business and all of that, because I'm also doing the podcast where it is very much about the personal journey. And that has really been an eye-opener for me.
I think I saw the one with Sanjeev Bikhchandani, and that was absolutely amazing. I mean, his vision and, when
Yeah.
he started. Rima, some of your experiences?
And just as an addendum to, when we interview corporates, now over the last so many years, we've seen corporates resurrect themselves. We've seen them go through economic up cycles, down cycles. We've seen them say, oh, this company is a loss making. They've made losses for the last, 8 quarters in a row, and then they turn around. So just imagine the effort that it takes to turn around 1,000 crore revenue company, what they must have gone through those 2 years when their share price is falling, everyone's throwing brickbats at them, the pressure. And there's so many such stories of turnaround. And it's very inspiring. So just to add, what you learn every single day from these corporates and the kind of agility they have. Even if you're a 10,000, 20,000 crore market cap company, all those CEOs, come in the morning, they work, they're extremely agile. We're living in such a difficult world, and they're navigating that company, with the energy of a 20-year-old and the experience of an 80-year-old.
It takes a lot of mental strength as well, right? Rima, you also represented India at the World Mobile Congress in Barcelona, right? Where you had the access to technology or innovations that some of us couldn't even imagine. So the one that I remember was a smartphone turning into a smartwatch or something like that. If you could just take us through some of that experience, because that was something, technology which could be 10 years away from now, or something which some of us couldn't even fathom, right?
So earlier this year, I went to Barcelona for Mobile World Congress, which is a big technology, I think the world's biggest technology congregation. It spread over multiple football fields. There were more than 2,000 exhibitors showing a lot of concept technologies which are not there today, but it may come in the future. But for me, the biggest learning was I went there alone. So normally when we interview, we have this whole entourage, there is a village, there is someone, camera, there's a producer, there's a director, there's a makeup, there's hair, there's a camera, lights, and you just have to go sit, do your job. But there, I was all by myself, and I had this big backpack. It was literally this big, where I was carrying my own camera with a tripod stand. So I used to walk, and I used to carry 2 shoes, one heels and one Keds, because I had to walk like 20,000 steps every day. So I used to pack this big bag. It was almost bigger than half my size, heavy. And I used to go from one, interview, then I used to set it up, make sure that the setting is all right, then interview the person, upload it back home, and then send lines to the editor that this is what he said, and this is what you need to upload. And then I used to pack that all up and go to the next one. So just the fact that since it was the first time for me, and I could do it all, I could don so many hats, take on the role of a camera guy and editor, etc., and do it. It was a revelation, and it also gave me a lot of confidence. So
There's
yeah.
so much hard work that went in, but what we saw was just the final picture and it looked so glamorous, right?
It was hard work. I mean, I used to carry two shoes because I'm so short that I didn't want to wear kids and look, informal. So I used to carry heels, and just before the hall, I used to change it and then, stuff the kids in every single time over 5 days.
But you did a fantastic job at it and we were super impressed. So you guys read so much, right? Be it global affairs, be it company management reports, current affairs, politics. And typically when you read so much, you tend to form an opinion about things as well, right? So typically when you interview someone or, when you interact with someone, how do you ensure that your views don't come in between and you guys have a neutral stance while, presenting your case?
Actually, you're right. It's important for us to kind of remove ourselves from the equation, right? So I think over the years we've learned how to do that. Time and again we get like whenever we overstep, then we have our producers and our directors also telling us. So that's how the news system works. There's a lot of rigorous training that goes into anchoring, and if you want to become an anchor, it just doesn't happen overnight. There's various procedural things that you have to do. So I think it takes time. But yeah, for me, I look at everything very dispassionately. Like if there is a corporate, then of course you need to look at the key numbers and not really, think about how what you have to do with the corporate. So it's just about the numbers and, analyzing. And we do it so much. For example, like on a daily basis, both of us are interviewing at least 10 corporates. So sometimes it becomes so robotic for us. So we have to kind of snap out of it and say, you know what, no, don't just ask the same set of questions that you ask every day. You need to think it through also. So I face that challenge because, it's like a factory. You're churning out interview after interview after interview, and then sometimes you just need to take a step back and say, oh, okay, you know what, let's read up a little more and understand the business a little more. But yeah, there are like perils of this industry as well.
Has there been a case wherein, you very strongly feel about something and the person you're interviewing has a completely different view? So has there been a case where you've tried to, say, okay, but this could also be the case, or you just have to be very neutral?
I think in business news, it doesn't happen as much because it's very data driven. Like a company, if a company has reported 100 crores revenue, they have reported 100 crores. There's no other way to look at it.
So it's all facts.
It's all factual. It's all factual. And I think that's the best part of our work. You never get stuck in any controversy because you are totally talking facts. You never get on anybody's wrong side because, there is no allegiance towards any person. You're just coming and doing your job. And and you're helping people make money. So what more do you want, right? Yeah.
So, continuing with your journey. So over the last 15 years, you guys have evolved so much and, your journey has been extremely successful. For an outsider, it looks extremely successful, enriching and rewarding, right? But of course, there's a lot of hard work that has gone in. And sometimes there would be times where you would have felt like, this is not going like the way I wanted. I just want to give up or, were there moments like that?
It happens daily. We question our existence daily in this job. But no, what was your question? Sorry.
So what were the challenges, or were there times like, where you really felt, this is getting really tough and I need to give it a thought, or, am I doing the right thing? What were the main challenges that you were, that you faced during their journey?
All these questions that you said last night only I was thinking, same thing. Am I doing the right thing? No, but jokes apart, Rima, you want to take that first?
No, I think we question it every single day. Not every single day, every now and then. And at least I've been questioning it for the last, 10 years. Out of 16-year journey, I've been questioning for the last 10 years. When we got into the industry, it was easy. There is no fear of failure. That it's okay, you're 22 years old. What's the big deal? If this doesn't work out, you can always, pack your bags and, wear new shoes and attack something else. We have this hormone called flight or fight. When you're young, you always take the fight option. But, as you grow older, at least for me, one reason why I've stuck on, one is the power of compounding. Just the way compounding helps in growing your money, compounding also helps your career. Every single day, you are better than what you were yesterday. You are adding more value to your job, to your professional career, and that also makes you more relevant and important. Now today, if I decide to change my job and go pick up something completely different, pick up your job, I have to start all over again, right? It's that much harder. So, yes, there are times when you get tired, you're exhausted, there is monotony, but then you weigh the other side and you think, realistically, is that even an option for me? Do I have the energy today to, take it up? So, I think that's also one of the reasons why I have at least stuck on.
Rima, knowing you, there's always an option at any age. You're going to ace it.
No, I think when you asked us why we question our jobs, right? So, as a journalist, I feel like you ask, like today, of course, you're asking us about our journey, but we ask people every single day about their success, right? At some point in time, you feel like, okay, if I was a startup entrepreneur, maybe somebody would be asking me those questions, but today I'm asking someone else, right? So, okay, you feel that maybe you're more talented, maybe you could do something better, maybe you could make a lot more money, because to be honest, journalism doesn't pay you that much as other industries do. That is the fact of the matter. You do it because of your pure passion, you do it because you enjoy your work, but the growth that and other industries have seen, whether it's investment banking, whether it's fund management, whether it's mutual funds, the growth has been phenomenal in the last 15 years. But journalism as an industry doesn't pay as much. So you keep questioning the financial aspect of it also. That is one thing. But as Rima said, right, you do the same thing over and over again and then you kind of get better at it. But then beyond a point, you need to add some more value to your career also. So that's why we do things like, say, taking up personal finance. Rima's doing her, tech and evolving on that front. Or you do, we used to do these investor camps as well. Long back, yeah, before COVID. Now, of course, we're starting some more of those on-ground events and everything. So you kind of add different facets to your this thing. But this industry per se is very, very hard. It's not easy to navigate. And I'm sure like every other industry, I mean, we don't know any better. We only know this place. But the growth has not been, it's not been proportionate to other industries in the finance space.
So you girls have been trendsetters, right? You have been stars now. Everyone who looks at financial markets knows you. And there are so many of them, in like a lot of people who are inspired by you and want to be like you. So what would be like your message to these young aspirants who want to take up a career in media and journalism?
Don't do it. Don't waste your time. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, it's changed a lot over the last 10, 15 years. So I feel like you do it if you're passionate about it. You do it if it drives you. You do it, but don't chase money, because there is not much money to be made in this industry. I mean, it's a case not just with business journalism. It's a case across the board. Journalism as a profession only has become very diluted now because everything is available everywhere. Like even a master class, right? You go on YouTube, you get everything for free. You don't have to pay for anything anymore. So people are so used to that. Now, if the other day, one of my friend was telling me that he now watches all his news on InShorts, right? On the app. Yeah. He's like, even on InShorts, in 10 seconds I get news, but I only look at it for 3 seconds. It's like even a shorts app that is targeting that, your attention deficiency disorder, in that also you are only spending 3 seconds. So then long format news just is becoming even more redundant. And then with YouTube and with, YouTubers and everything. So my simple message is don't do it.
It's a lot of influencers, finfluencers, and a lot of them coming up as well, right? So you need to probably separate the wheat from the chaff, because not everything's authentic as well.
But my take on finfluencers is very different. I think they are doing an amazing job in growing the ecosystem of financial literacy, right? They are doing what television channels didn't do for the last 15 years, to be honest. We spoke about stocks, we spoke about market going up and down, but nobody ever taught a basic person what you should do to file your taxes. Should you buy sovereign gold bonds or not? Should you invest in NPS? What is the basic difference between PPF and NPS? We, in our 10 years, 15 years of anchoring, we never talked about it. Now, in the last 5 years, because influencers have started doing it and growing the ecosystem, that's why TV channels are trying to get up to speed to it as well. So I believe that they are a great part of the ecosystem and growing. And now that SEBI is, of course, regulating them in the right way, which is great. It's because then they'll, you know, of course, there are some guardrails being put in place, which is great for investors as well. So that's my take on Finfluencer. I think they are helping, you know, financial literacy, which is the need of the hour.
You think in a similar manner?
Yes. Yes.
So let's move on. Finance as a field, typically has been dominated by men, right? You look at CFOs, you look at audit, taxation, fund managers. Journalism has been slightly different. So do you think what do you think? Is it very difficult or easy for a woman with a similar academic background and qualification? How difficult is it for a woman to be at par with somebody, with a man when it comes to journalism? And when you're talking about, journalism not being a very highly paid job, do you think there's, like in some of the other fields, do you also think there's a pay disparity amongst the two genders over here, or is it in general that you were talking about?
I think if there is a bias between the genders in finance, in the larger finance field, I don't think there is a bias in media. We've always had women bosses. So at least media journalism, business journalism, and I think even news, general news, is fairly, it's at parity. Now, about the pay, I'm not sure because everyone complains that we're not getting paid enough. So I'm not really sure if there is a disparity.
Yeah, she's right. There's no gender disparity in media, for sure. I've never faced it, and I don't think Reema has faced it either. But one thing I can say for sure is that, there is this whole gender pay gap issue across the board, which needs to be addressed. And I feel for women, there are a couple of issues which need to be addressed. One is, it's kind of like, because you take that gap during motherhood, right? So there is definitely a setback. Those 1 or 2, 3 years, you are not given the kind of promotions that others are given, men are given. You're not given, now people are, sitting up and taking notice. You're not allowed the kind of flexibility. Our organization, fortunately, is very proactive in that. They have allowed us a lot of flexibility, and that's why we have been able to grow. But it's one of the few organizations where, I know so many women who are in fund management, who are in investment banking, who, despite having toddlers, infants at home, they have to work like really long hours and they are not given any leeway. So I think in the corporate structure itself, going by our experience, I feel women will thrive if they are given little more flexibility at the workplace. And and in terms of gender pay gap also, see, we have to understand that women need, they need to be handheld through a lot of things. Because, at home, like Reema was saying, right, at home, if the woman doesn't perform, then the whole ecosystem kind of collapses. So, yeah, I just feel like in the corporate structure, the gender pay gap issue needs to be addressed. But for us in media, we've fortunately never faced it. But it's also largely because media is 80% women.
Right.
It's 20% men. So it's kind of flipped on its back.
Just one more point. The way women are and the way we think, that if after we've given birth, for the next 2-3 years, we think we've got less than what we deserve in terms of a promotion or in terms of an increment, we think it's justified. Oh, maybe I am not putting in as much as I would have if I didn't have a kid. And then you sort of justify it to yourself and accept it, and not realizing that probably that's incorrect. But that's a fault that I think most women face.
Guilt,
that
right?
women, their mother guilt. And that you think, okay, maybe I actually deserve, X.
Yes.
So we never go up and speak up. So we know cases in our organization where men have gone and said, we're not happy with what we've got. At least they bring it on the table. Now, what happens after, I don't know. But, at least me, she, our friends, we've never gone. We just accept what has been given. And I think this is a big mistake that most women, professional women, we don't speak up. We don't stand on, go on the table and raise our issues on,
I think that happens everywhere, right? Not just in media.
and not accepting it. We accept it. We think we deserve it.
Right. So, I think no discussion is going to be complete without your take on the markets. We're not getting into specific stocks or sectors right here, but in general, if you have to look at markets, I mean, there's no doubt that India is the brightest star right now in the whole galaxy, if I can put it. But what would your advice be to somebody who's starting afresh, to somebody who's just started working, And for somebody, in terms of if you have a long-term horizon, what are some of your key takeaways that some of the that our audience could carry?
Well, it's India's decade. I truly believe that. Irrespective of what your age is, if you don't have an immediate capital requirement, I think equities is one of the best plays. Now, mutual funds is safe, as we all know, but if you want to hold your own stock portfolio, I think a very safe bet is holding large, liquid leaders in your sector. Now, pick any sector, whether it's infrastructure. If you pick the largest infrastructure stock in India, you pick the top 2 large banks, you pick the largest telecom player in India, if India has to grow, these companies will grow. Maybe there will be a mid-cap company which grows faster than them. But so a very safe way to invest in individual stocks, according to me, is buy the large liquid leaders of the Indian equity market, and I think that will give your portfolio. If you ever need money, you can always even liquidate it.
Yeah, totally. I completely agree with Reeman. It's the best way to look at it. Even index funds, right? I mean, you just buy a normal index fund, it will help you a lot. I also believe that, why everyone is talking about this being India's decade is because of one thing which we have, which other countries don't have, which is a demographic dividend, right? India has the youngest population in the world. The average age now is 28 in India, while in China, it's, I think, 37 or 38. In Europe, it's much older. So the sheer 60% of India's population is, of the world's population, youth is in India. So just the propensity to spend is so much. So all these consumption-oriented sectors will do very well. And I think, I wish that when I was young, you said, what would your advice be? I wish when I was young, someone would have told me at the age of 21 let's start investing, because I feel like I did it late. And if the power of compounding is so immense that if we are taught earlier to start investing, the amount doesn't matter. The consistency matters, the discipline in investing matters, right? The amount can be anything. And then it also that discipline takes you a long way in other aspects of your life as well. Like you're overspending in other things. I as a person am a really frugal person. I don't have any lifestyle creep. My lifestyle is exactly the same that it was 10 years ago or maybe 5 years ago, except that now I have a kid in the picture, so his expenses. But I feel that a lot of these small things will help you gain that discipline. And yeah, I think India is really an amazing place to invest right now. For the long term, it is one of the best places, not just because of the demographic dividend, because of the stability of the government, because of so many things. We will, a decade later, we'll be like, oh, we were a part of that huge growth story, the India growth story, and we were at the right place at the right time. So my advice also to anyone who's starting off their career, any profession you are in, there's so much scope for everything in India right now that any profession you are in, just keep doing the same thing over and over again. And at some point you will, hit that pot of gold.
Very recently, we had this event, CNBC, where Manish Chokhani, he's a market veteran, and he was asked the same question, right? Like, what is it about India? And he said that China's a jail, Europe is a museum, and Japan is a hospital. So India is the place to be.
So the key takeaways from here would be start investing as early as possible, as much as possible, and I think time in the market is more than timing the market, right?
One more thing, especially for all the Maharashtrian parents, because predominantly, Maharashtrians value humility a lot. We value staying grounded. All our life we've been told, don't go ahead of yourself, don't fly too high. Very recently, I was exposed to a story, it's a Greek mythology, about Icarius and Daedalus. So Daedalus is the father and Icarius is the child. And they were both imprisoned. So the father comes out with, he thinks of a way and he comes out with wings. These are wings made of wax and feather. And he told his son that, look, we'll escape this prison. But he says, follow my flight. Let me first test these wings. So you go after me. But my advice is just two things. Don't fly too high and don't fly too low. Okay, so the father takes off. Then Icarius follows him. And he's so giddy with, the wings, the ability to fly, that he flies very high. And then the wax melts. And he's unable to fly. and he's unable to fly anymore, and he falls down. So that's the story, that don't fly too high, don't go ahead of yourself, stay grounded, stay rooted. But you know what we also forget is the second part of the advice. That is, don't fly too low, because those wings were made of feather. And he says if you fly close to the sea, you will not be able to fly. So I think we all also need to encourage our children to take a little bit of risk. We've always been taught that, take the safe path.
Get a stable job.
Take a stable job. We don't have business conversations on the dinner table. Dinner table conversations in a typical household are about the news, it's about history. But we never talk money, right? Money was a bit of a taboo. 20 years back, 30 years back, investing was also, ते तर फक्त गुजराती मारवाडी आम्हाला तर कळतच नाही मार्केटमध्ये कसं करायचं. So, but the thing is that it's also important now to teach our children that we don't fly high, but don't fly too low. Go out there, take risks. It's okay to fail. So I think that's also another advice.
And I think that's exactly what Saraswat Chambers is also endeavoring to, build that or inculcate that sense of entrepreneurship, to take risk and, just fly off, right? So I think we're done with questions, at least from my end. What we'll do is a quick rapid fire. Don't put in too much of, your brains into it, whatever comes to your mind. Unfortunately, unlike the coffee with Karan, we don't have any gift hampers here. But we just try, all we want to do is know you girls more as a person. All right, so we can start with any one of you. All right, it's very simple, just 10 questions.
Okay.
Just speak up your mind. All right, biryani or pizza?
Pizza.
Black coffee or hot chocolate?
Black coffee.
Morning walks or late night binge watching?
Morning walks.
I'm sure you get time for that. Money or fame?
Money.
I borrowed that from your rapid fire with Ramdev Agarwal. All right, Sonia as a mother or Sonia as an anchor?
As a mother.
Clubbing or house parties?
House parties.
Mumbai or Bahrain?
Dubai, actually, because I was raised, large part of my childhood was in Dubai. So yeah,
You
Dubai.
still miss that.
I still miss that, yeah.
So your favorite cartoon character would be?
Tom and Jerry, because my son loves it.
Okay. In your free time, you would?
Sleep.
All right. If Netflix made a series on Sonia, it would be named as?
Fearless.
Oh, wow. One last thing, singing or dancing? I think you should answer that carefully because you know what's coming ahead.
Both.
Oh, wow. So we're in for a treat after this.
I'm a very bad singer, only bathroom singing.
So thank you so much, Sonia.
Thank you.
Rima, sweets or savory? Though looks
Savory.
like it's none, but yeah.
Savory.
Beaches or mountain?
Beaches.
Books or movies?
Now movies.
Any recent recommendation for our audience?
I just watched King Richard last night and I thought it was great. On
If you're
Netflix.
listening. Social time or me time?
Me time.
Live in the
Children, child time.
Child
Just add
time.
that.
Live in the moment or save for a rainy day?
Save for a rainy day.
Rima, a meticulous planner or a preferer for spontaneity?
Meticulous planner.
If not an anchor, Rima would be a...
Finance person.
If Rima had one superpower, it would be...
To have 48 hours or 2 of me, 1 for Neil, 1 for Tara. Sorry, Gaurav.
The best compliment you would have received from a fan or viewer would be?
So there's this TCS CEO. He's now the Tata Sons chairman, Chandrasekharan. When I met him for the first time at TCS, he told me that he was like, oh, every quarter before I come down for the press conference, after the board meeting is done, we have CNBC TV 18 on, and I watch you because I track technology. So he told me, and he's the biggest CEO. So he told me, I watch your analysis for 5-7 minutes, what you have to say on our numbers, and then I come down.
That's a huge compliment coming from him, right? All right, and singing and dancing.
Dancing.
Perfect. So we're going to shake a leg with Sonia and Rima. Right. So guys, that's it from my side, but we can open the floor for questions. I'm sure we're going to have many questions. So, guys, please start.
There's someone at the back
Back,
over there.
right.
One, yeah.
My name is Satish Kini, and I'm a big fan of Sonia on the
Thank you so
channels.
much. Thank you.
And like you said, I still watch TV. Okay. Because you are talking of your last 15 years, and I was just thinking that I have stopped working for last 15 years. So you can see the gap in the, what we have been doing in the last 15 years. My question is a little funny and also brings out the point which you said that financial literacy or interest in finance amongst ladies. So my wife is very much interested in money, and felt that I should have made much more. So now she's thinking of trying to make it on her own. And when she got her Provident Fund from Air India when she retired, she asked her brother, who is very active in investments. He was with Stanchart. So he said, I want you to invest my money. So he said, what is your profile? What are your targets? And he said, very simple. I heard sometime in the back that Rakesh Jhunjhunwala said he started with only 10 lakhs. So I want you to make me Rakesh Jhunjhunwala in next 10 years. Would you have some advice for her?
She knows that Rakesh Jhunjhunwala is dead, right?
Yeah, we all know that. Yeah, but before he died, he made a few $1 billion.
No. But I mean, it's great that she's interested to make money. I mean, it's amazing that women are sitting up and taking charge of their money. It's never too late, right? I mean, she can start investing even now. I feel it's never too late. And I think, yeah, you should encourage her to take charge of her finances.
No, I always encouraged. But how does she become a Rakesh Jhunjhunwala?
She doesn't need to become a Rakesh Jhunjhunwala because, even he can't enjoy his money anymore, sadly. So, yeah, I guess it's a balance, right? I mean, you have to start somewhere. And I'm sure even Rakesh Jhunjhunwala started very, very small. So, you start
Oh,
somewhere.
exactly, yeah. I know from the time he started because
40 years of
Yeah.
investing.
Yeah. He had time on his hands.
Time.
So,
Okay.
I mean, but you can still start right now. And I encourage everyone. Like the other day, there was a lady who wrote to me and she said that in COVID, her husband died and she got some insurance money. And at that time, she saw one of my show snippets. And at that time, she started investing. And she said, imagine in the peak of COVID is when she started investing. It was the best time for her to invest. And she's saying, now I am so financially independent. I invested the insurance money that I got into the stock market because I watched your show. And she said, thank you so much because not only can I deal with the loss of my husband, but now I don't need to even look at my children. I don't need to go to my children for, financial dependence. And I think, yeah, I mean, that was amazing for me.
I like so many points you brought the factual things of life in your. So the point you made about literacy and how people are brought up. When you said, if I wish somebody had told me about the power of compounding when I was small. And that's exactly what I did to my daughter when she just passed out of college. And it's very easy to ask this question. You want to be a millionaire? She said, yes. I said, very simple. From your first salary, which might have been just mere 15,000, okay, as a HR, 25% of that you put into mutual funds. And to be very frank, now she's working for about 15 years. And I think she's already got a small packet of about 30-35 lakhs.
That's
Through
amazing.
compounding.
That's amazing. And I want to bring out one thing, right? I'm sure Rima would also agree that as women, like our mother's generation, nobody spoke about money. They don't even communicate about money. A lot of spouses don't talk about money in the house, right? It's a taboo subject. Now people are at least having these money conversations. People are getting up and saying, oh, you know, where is my money being spent? And like my mom has become very savvy about money now, but I remember, of course, she was also working mother. And at that point in time, the only avenues to invest were FDs, real estate, you know, all which real estate was a, you know, like a hit and miss kind of a situation. At that point, there was nobody to teach them about how you should invest wisely, or say an LIC agent would come, or any insurance agent would come and tell you, you know, put your money here, you'll get the. I mean, no offense to them, but these are not high yielding assets, right? But so I'm so glad that women are starting to at least have these conversations about money.
I'm a great fan of Mr. Anil Singhvi. I just wanted to ask, has he changed the style of anchoring, and do you find him as a threat, Mr. Anil Singhvi, sir?
Has he?
He has changed the style of anchoring, a very casual approach, हंसी मजाक करते हैं, मौज मस्ती. So I think he's taking the market in his hand. So do you find him as a threat, or do you want to follow his style?
He's actually a friend. I know him personally and we interact a lot, and he's a great guy. Yeah, he's a great guy. He's done amazing work in his career. So yeah, we're all big fans of his.
I am Yogesh Karikurve. Been in the media industry for over 20 years. Now I'm on the other side. I'm a happiness coach. So I wanted to ask you a pertinent question. I'm one of those few guys, like you said, who doesn't know much about finance. So I don't watch any of the financial televisions, but I keep a track of it based on social media. However, one question, you've spoken a lot about investing in stocks and investing about money. But if you can throw some light about how do you invest in yourself? I mean, other than the fact that you play tennis and you said you go to the gym, but do you take holidays? And if you do, where do you go? I mean, spend time with your family.
First of all, I have many questions for you since you're a happiness coach. I think you need to be sitting here and we need to be sitting there. So please, all of you at the Saraswat Chamber, please plan one session with him also and invite me for that. But so I'll tell you what happened with me. So as I said, right, we faced a health setback when my son was unwell for 2 years. It was a very challenging time for us. At that time, me and my husband embarked on a spiritual journey. We started doing a lot of reading. We do a lot of retreats, and we read a lot of spiritual gurus. So that helped us a lot to kind of find the real meaning of life, because everyone's just doing. You get up every day, you just go, you just do what you're told largely, right? Either it's conditioning, social conditioning, but so many of us have childhood trauma that we don't address. And that leads to so many issues, not just mentally, but physically as well. So working on ourselves means, for me at least, I spend at least 1 hour or half an hour every day reading mostly spiritual books. And that helped me a lot in overcoming the kind of, setback that I went through medically with my son. And that's pretty much what I do, apart from, of course, playing.
Those are daily things.
Yeah.
My question is, like, over a period of a year or a couple of years, do you take off? Like, do you take a holiday, or do you go somewhere in a holiday?
Yeah, plenty of holidays. That's what keeps us going. So I think for both Rima and me, our job is very high stress. It's like packing in a lot in a very small time frame. So our minds are really overworked, and every 3 months, every 4 months, we take off, even if it just means, taking the kids and just heading out to, say, a small destination here and there, but we just take off. And I think Rima also does the same, because you otherwise cannot be, you have to recharge.
So hi, I have a selfish question. I'm Aditi Kari Pandandikar, and on occasions I've been on the other side when you've been asking questions at CNBC. So you said you do around 10 interviews a day, and one of them could be me. But here's me on the other side wondering, for those 5 minutes, how are you going to grill me? So how deep is what you know about me on the other side? I could never ask you this in any other forum. So just jokes apart, how much of the spade work or the research is done by your team, and how much do you skim the surface before you actually go online to ask us those questions?
So we do a lot of research as a team, and we kind of divide the work. So Rima tracks, IT, I track autos, and we also track together a lot of things. But every person who comes on the channel, and if we are interviewing, we read about them well in advance. So yeah, we do all our research. Then the sectoral expert also gives us certain questions.
Yeah, so Ekta does it for pharma, I know that.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. So it's thorough. The research is thorough. Yeah.
Great. Congratulations. And you've spoken so well today. Nice.
Thank you. Thank you. There's someone there at the back. Yeah.
Hi Sonia, hi Rima.
Hi.
Just wanted to check with you and wanted to know what your opinion was with these stockbrokers like Zerodha and Fires and the newer ones that have come in. A lot of the younger generation has gotten access to derivatives and futures and options and things like that, right? That I don't know how good it is or how bad it is. I just wanted to know what's your opinion, because there's so much of volatility. It's a product that they don't understand. It's more like a casino for them, right? Like from 9:30 to 3:30, let's get into the markets, let's do some F&O. So what's your take on it? And how do you see regulation around?
So I think you're right. I mean, it's become like gambling, total gambling in the derivative market. And there's a lot of guardrails that need to be put in place by SEBI also. But I think it doesn't have to do so much with the platforms itself. I mean, Zerodha or, they are also very responsible in their own way. It's just that people feel that the stock market has become a place to get quick money. And there is this whole generation of investors who has not seen a big bear market yet. So they don't know what it is like to lose money in the market, right? So they feel every day they'll come and they'll make their money and they'll go. So that's why so much of volume has picked up in the derivative market. But as you said, I mean, it's become gambling and a lot of awareness needs to be created for young people to kind of, reduce the F&O and the derivatives.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Sachin Ganvinde. I'm actually the other side of this company, which are flashing the results. So always when there is a board of directors meeting, we are into the tight room. We should not go out and something. And when within 30 minutes, we have to flash our results. And she said that TCS CEO is looking the view of this reviews and then he go for the investor relations. So I'm wondering, whenever we disseminate to the stock exchange, immediately it will get flash on your TV and you start analyzing without fraction of within 1 minute. So I'm wondering how the mechanism goes in the field, how the data comes to you and how you analyze and you start speaking on that. We are just wondering. We are just analyzing whether you are talking correctly the figures or not, because we have the.
So first you tell us whether we analyze correctly or not. Are we doing it right?
Yeah. No, that is correct, absolutely correct. But how it will manage? So it is incredible. Actually, we are doing day and night for this, but you are doing it within the fraction of it. That's why I want to know what is the figure, how it will flash, how it get fly immediately, all the figures, and it is wonder because I want to know what about that.
So first, as anchors, let me say that it's not that we get any number in advance. We see the number. Suppose we're talking about results, right? The net revenue, EBITDA margin, profit. These are the three key numbers that you always look at as you begin analyzing. We see those numbers on air at exactly the same time as it's flashed. It's not that someone gives us the numbers beforehand on a sheet of paper. We look at it, take 2 minutes or 10 seconds to think about it and then talk about it. So first, it's purely real time. And two, how we do it, I think it's a lot of practice. It's a lot of, it's just being prepared. So we see the last many quarters numbers. We see the trend on the revenue. Now I will have on a piece of paper, because I can't remember everything, that in Q3 this company grew 10%, in Q2 I will go and see it's gone 8%, then 12%, then 11%. I have the margins for the last 12 quarters. So I know that, okay, now this time this company's gone, grown 20%, which is great because last 4 quarters this company's averaged only 10%. This quarter the margin, someone is flashing 20%. I say, oh damn, it's come less than what you've done for the last 3 quarters. So one, it's real time for us. And two, we take help of a lot of historical trends. We also have developed a network of analysts who help us before and tell us that, these are the 3 things you need to watch in the numbers. Because now I look at 70 plus companies every, in which comes under my coverage. It's hard to keep, be up to date on every single company. So then I'll call up an analyst before. I said, Acha, what are the main things outside of the numbers that I should look at? And what could be the factor driving it? So it's a combination of these things which we use to analyze numbers on the go.
Hi, thanks, Rahul Nabar here. Thanks for a great discussion. So just a question about the index funds. When a lot of the financial literature shows that you can't really beat an index, and then you see so many guys, trying to figure out which stock to pick or funds which charge relatively, who's a better fund manager. So is it really an efficient market? Can you beat an index? Is there a point in trying to pick a stock, or is that irrationality? Like, is it paradoxical at one side you have an index fund which seems to perform like the vanguards, but people are still trying to do better by picking a stock? What's your personal opinion? Like, do you try to pick stocks?
So I'll tell you my experience. So I have been investing since 2008, and I've realized over time that picking stocks really is a waste, because you can never time a cycle. You may pick a defense stock and it may go up maybe 2x, but then you don't know when the stock starts falling. So on an average, I realized that investing in passive funds, index funds, ETFs, is just a easier way to navigate your investment journey. Because when you invest in, it gives you a lot of stress also. Like if you catch, say, I remember there was a phase when I bought a few chemical companies and we can only buy for long term. So I bought it and then I held on to it and I forgot about it. Then I realized that the chemical stocks had gone up about 50%. Then they fell also, and I was never tracking it. So in that process, I realized that there's no point identifying. Some of the best fund managers are sitting out there and doing their job, right? Whether it's in PMS, whether it's in AIF, whether it's in, and there's so many different products that you can look at. You can even buy a mid cap and small cap index fund now. That's the best way to play the market. So I think, at least my personal journey is, now I don't pick, earlier I used to pick companies and bet on them for the long term. But now I just feel it's better to buy a fund and, just get better sleep at night rather than tracking every single day. And if you have a full-time job, you have, a life, then it's really hard. So, but then there are great stock pickers out there too who, find multi-baggers, but unfortunately, I'm not one of them.
In the interest of time, we can just take one last question.
Hi Rima, hi Sonia. So both of you have given some stellar advice with regards to investing. And you've only been speaking about investing, which is great because I believe in that. We haven't touched upon trading. So my question to you is it possible to make money consistently through trading? That's my first question. And my second question is, can you recommend some good books to read, please?
So I've never done trading. I don't understand it. I don't know anything about it. So I'm not the right person to, ask this question. But I do know that traders don't make as much money as it appears. And 90% of traders don't make money. So as per, what SEBI came out with earlier. So yeah, that's my view on trading. I have completely stayed away from trading. In any case, we can't do it because there are some, compliance issues and all of that. So yeah, investing has worked best for me.
No, I agree. I actually don't have much of an opinion on trading. Do you want to recommend some books?
So I'm reading this book now, which I highly recommend. It's called Lives of the Stoics. It's about, not just about Marcus Aurelius, but it's also about all the Stoics in the Greek mythology. And it talks about how they, from the most richest Greek king to the peasants, how they approach their life, their challenges and all of that. So that's a really interesting book that I'm reading right now, which I'm really enjoying. And then, of course, in investing books, there are so many, right? There is Psychology of Money, which I really love. There is Monica Hallan's book, Let's Talk Money, which is great if you're just starting your financial journey. I read a lot of books on Osho. And one I recently read, which I absolutely loved, was Gita Darshan. It's just how, lessons from the Gita that you can imbibe in your daily life. So that's one book that I really like. Yeah, you want?
So the one book which I recently read was Atomic Habits by James Clear, but that's a very easy weekend read about, you know, how tiny habits changes in your habits can have a remarkable, you know, change over a period of time. So that's one of the recent books.
Right. So in the interest of time, we'll have to stop this. So thank you everyone for being such a lovely audience. And thank you so much, Rima and Sonia, for coming here and spending so much time with us. We'll have a small
Thank you, ladies. That was informative, insightful, and certainly inspirational. We shall now proceed to honor and felicitate our beacons. We have with us Managing Director of Indoco Remedies, Mrs. Aditi Kare Panandikar. May I request Aditi ma'am to please come on stage and felicitate the beacons. Mrs. Sonia Shenoy. Mrs. Rima Tendulkar. Thank you. We also have with us the Director of Saraswat Bank, Mr. Kiran Umrutkar. May I request sir to please come on stage and hand over a token of appreciation to Mrs. Prerna Lotlikar. Round of applause. Huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to now call on stage Mrs. Shraddha Sinkar and enlighten us about the forthcoming Saraswat Kalakar event.
नमस्कार मंडळी. मला वाटतं आज आपला डिलेड वुमन्स डे सेलिब्रेट होतो नाही का. दोन ब्युटिफुल आपल्या यंग डायनामिक लेडीज, त्यांचा इंटरव्ह्यू घेणारी पण डायनामिक प्रेरणा, आणि आता परत इथे मी आली नॉट सो डायनामिक दो. आता आपण बघितलं 5 वर्षामध्ये सारस्वत चेंबर रिलेंटलेसली कार्य करतंय एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप प्रमोट करण्यासाठी. त्यासाठी आपले वेगवेगळे समिट्स होतात, वेगवेगळे बीकॉन इव्हेंट्स होतात आणि कॉन्क्लेव्ह सुद्धा होतात गोव्याला म्हणा किंवा बँगलोरला. पण आता एक थोडासा वेगळा विचार आपल्या मनात असा आलेला आहे की फायनान्स किंवा कन्स्ट्रक्शन किंवा लीगल हे सगळे वर्टिकल्स आपण जसे ट्रीट करतो तसं आर्ट हा सुद्धा एक वर्टिकल आहे. आपल्या सारस्वतांमध्ये खूप सारे आर्टिस्ट आहेत जे प्रोफेशनली काम करतात किंवा ज्यांना प्रोफेशनली काम करायचं आहे. तर आपल्या आत्ताच्या प्लॅटफॉर्मवरती आपल्या सगळ्यांना माहीतच आहे जवळजवळ 650पेक्षा जास्त मेंबर आहेत अख्ख्या जगभरातले. आणि त्याच्यामध्ये काही काही इव्हेंट ऑर्गनायझर्स आहेत, काही मंडळी अशी आहेत जी प्रॉपर एंटरप्रेन्योर्स आहेत, पण तरीसुद्धा म्युझिक किंवा कला क्षेत्रामध्ये सुद्धा त्यांचं भरीव असं योगदान आहे. तर अशा आर्टिस्टना प्रमोट करण्यासाठी आपण कला हे एक व्हर्टिकल आपण इथे डेव्हलप करतो आहे. इथे आपला कल्चरल अप्रोच नसणार आहे, तर इथे सुद्धा एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप आणि प्रोफेशनलच आपल्याला अप्रोच घेऊन कला प्रमोट करायची आहे. तर आता आपण म्हणतो 64 कला आहेत आपल्या सगळ्या, काय म्हणा 64 प्रकारच्या कला आहेत. तर सध्या तो बघताना आपण गाणं किंवा एखादं वाद्य आणि नृत्य ह्या 3 कलांवरती सध्या आपण सुरुवातीला काम करत आहोत. आणि त्यासाठी आपण मध्यंतरी 2 व्हिडिओ सर्क्युलेट केले होते, एक मराठीमध्ये आणि एक कोंकणीमध्ये. तर त्याला आपल्याला रिस्पॉन्स खूप छान येत आहे. पण तरी पण मी आत्ता थोडक्यात त्याच्याबद्दल तुम्हाला सांगते. ह्या मंथ एंडपर्यंत म्हणजे 30 एप्रिलपर्यंत तुम्हाला जर का असं वाटत असेल की माझ्याकडे कला आहे आणि मला ती प्रोफेशनली परस्यू करायची आहे, तर तुम्ही जरूर तुमची कला दर्शवणारा 2 मिनिटाचा व्हिडिओ तयार करा. ते गाणं असेल, मग ते गाणं असताना तुमचं मराठी असू शकतं, हिंदी असू शकतं, कोंकणी असू शकतं. 2 मिनिटाचं आपल्याला गाणं तयार करायचं आहे. मग ते कराओके ट्रॅकवर असू शकतं किंवा लाईव्ह म्युझिशियनवर बरोबर शूट केलेलं असू शकतं किंवा सिम्पल तंबोरा, तानपुरा, आता आजकाल तर ऑनलाईन सगळे असतात, ॲप्स असतात, त्याच्यावर तुम्ही म्हणून ते आम्हाला पाठवा. किंवा तुमचा डान्स असेल, एनी फॉर्म ऑफ डान्स, बॉलिवूड असेल, कथ्थक असेल किंवा भरतनाट्यम असेल, तर त्याचा सुद्धा फक्त आपल्याला वेळेची मर्यादा अशी की 2 मिनिटाच्या आतला व्हिडिओ रेकॉर्ड करायचा आहे आणि तो 9890366554 या नंबरला पाठवायचा आहे. हे व्हिडिओज पाठवायची अंतिम तारीख आपली असणार आहे 30 एप्रिल. याच्यानंतर आपण एक्सपर्ट्सची एक टीम तयार केलेली आहे, जे हे सगळे व्हिडिओज बघेल आणि त्यातले सगळ्यात कॉम्पिटंट म्हणूया आपण, सगळेच चांगले असतील आय एम शुअर, पण कॉम्पिटंट काही निवडक कलाकार आपण घेणार आहोत आणि पुढच्या वर्षभरामध्ये मुंबई, गोवा आणि कर्नाटक ह्या 3 ठिकाणी आपल्याला प्रोग्राम करायचे जे आपण प्रोफेशनल लेवलवर आणि मोठ्या प्रमाणावर करणार आहोत. तर मंडळी, ह्यासाठी काही लोकांपर्यंत हा व्हिडिओ पोचला असेल. आपल्या सोशल मीडियावरती, फेसबुकवरती, इंस्टाग्रामवरती हे व्हिडिओज आलेले आहेत किंवा व्हॉट्सॲपच्या वरून सुद्धा हे खूप जणांपर्यंत पोचलेले आहेत. तर तुम्ही ते व्हिडिओ नक्की बघा. त्याच्यामध्ये आपण गाईडलाईन आपण लिहून सांगितलेले आहेत काय करायचे आणि काय नाही. आणि तुमचे व्हिडिओज आमच्यापर्यंत नक्की पोचवा, कारण आपल्याला बाकीच्या व्हर्टिकलसारखं कला हे सुद्धा एक मोठं व्हर्टिकल बिल्ड करायचं आहे आणि त्यासाठी तुमच्या सगळ्यांच्या सहयोगाची आपल्याला गरज आहे. काहीही क्वेरी असतील तर कधीही तुम्ही आमच्यापर्यंत रीच आउट करू शकता. थँक्यू.
Our member, Mr. Rahul Lad, is here all the way from London. May I request Mr. Rahul Lad to please come on stage and address for 2 minutes. A round of applause for Mr. Lad, making all the way from London. As we draw this remarkable event to a close, I welcome Advocate Ishan Patkar to the stage for closing remarks and a vote of thanks.
मी मराठीत बोलीन कारण मी इंग्लिश मीडियममध्ये शिकलो आहे, पण क्लासमध्ये मराठीतच बोलायचो. वेल, इट्स बीन अगेन टू मच ऑफ इंग्लिश फॉर वन डे. आपला जेव्हा कार्यक्रम सुरू झाला तेव्हा अमित पंडित बोलले व्हॉट इज द ऑब्जेक्टिव्ह ऑफ द चेंबर एटसेट्रा. जे मागच्या वेळेला आलेले त्यांनी मला ऑलरेडी ऐकलं या विषयावर, तर माय अटेम्प्ट इज नॉट टू से द सेम थिंग इन दोज वर्ड्स ऑल ओव्हर अगेन. पण ह्या इव्हेंटचं जेव्हा डिस्कशन झालेलं, फर्स्ट थिंग दॅट केम टू माय माइंड इज आपण हा केला पाहिजे कशासाठी की आपल्या कम्युनिटीत ह्या लेवलला पोचलेली लोक आहेत हे आपल्या लोकांना आधी दिसलं पाहिजे. की एक सोनिया शेणॉय आहे, एक रीमा तेंडुलकर आहे, दे आर लीडिंग अँकर्स ऑन नॅशनल टीव्ही. आर कम्युनिटी मेंबर्स शुड नॉट ओनली बी अवेअर, दे शुड बी प्राऊड ऑफ इट. आणि अशी आपली माणसं सगळीकडे बसली आहेत टॉप लेवलला. आपल्यालाच बऱ्याच वेळेला माहिती नसतं, कारण तेवढं आपण ॲज अ चेंबर ऑफ कॉमर्स आत्ताच आपलं ऑर्गनायझिंग सुरू झालं आहे. नाही तर कल्चरल ऑर्गनायझिंग, रिलिजियस ऑर्गनायझिंग सुरूच होतं. बट अपार्ट फ्रॉम दॅट अजून एक इश्यू आहेत. शेवटी आपली माणसं टॉप लेवलला बसली आहेत, बरोबर, अँड वी आर प्राऊड ऑफ देम. And we want more Sonia Shenoys and Rima Tendulkars to come up from our community in the next 5 to 7 years. But ultimate aim of chamber is की कोणीतरी जाऊन तो CNBC विकत घ्या. आपल्या कम्युनिटीत बिझनेस ओनरशिप वाढली पाहिजे. Our community should not be a community of people who are just executives. We should encourage business ownership. I know it's very difficult because it's not a culture in our community till now. त्या सारस्वत म्हणा, मराठी म्हणा, काही म्हणा, ते सगळं असंच आहे. पण मी आज सकाळीच बघत होतो, गोयंका, अगरवाल, अंबानी आपला कोण आहे. वी शुड एनकरेज दॅट कल्चर. वी शुड एनकरेज ambition in this community. वी शुड एनकरेज रिस्क टेकिंग. ते कठीण आहे, कारण रिस्क टेकिंगचं काय बोलावं. माझेच आई वडील म्हणतात तरी कशाला, जाऊ देत, पैसे जातील. पण वी शुड थिंक ऑफ इट इन धिस वे. जितके वाईट दिवस बघायचे होते माझ्या आजी आजोबांनी बघून झालेले आहेत दोन्हीकडच्या, त्यातल्या त्यात आई वडिलांचं नीट झालंय, माझं तर अगदी नीट चाललंय. आता मी पण रिस्क नाही घ्यायची तर कोणी घ्यायची? आणि हाऊ विल दिस कम्युनिटी प्रोग्रेस जर आपण अजूनही म्हटलं आम्ही रिस्कच नाही घेणार, आपलं चाललंय चालू देत. मागचा जेव्हा इव्हेंट झाला मला एका 2-3 लोकांचे कॉल आले, कारण आम्ही ते फोटो टाकायला लागलो, रील्स टाकायला लागलो, अरे ह्यांच्याशी ओळख करून दे, त्यांच्याशी ओळख करून दे. मी म्हटलं तुम्ही आलात का इव्हेंटला? तुम्ही इव्हेंटलाच आला नाहीत. तुम्हाला वाटलंच नाही की इव्हेंटला यावं, ह्या माणसांना भेटावं. एव्हरीवन न्यू हू वॉज गोइंग टू कम देअर. तिथे तुमच्या ज्या काय ॲस्पिरेशन्स होती तिथेच वाचा फुटली असती, पुढे आम्ही जरा मदत केली असती. तर 2 गोष्टी आहेत. सारस्वत चेंबर टुडे, I am proud to say it is at a level where we have connects with really good people sitting at really good positions. पण तुम्हाला पण एफर्ट केलं पाहिजे, इव्हेंट्सला आलं पाहिजे, तुम्हाला आयडेंटिफाय केलं पाहिजे की हू इज गोइंग टू बी युजफुल टू यू. देअर इज नथिंग टू फील एम्बॅरेस्ड अबाउट. दिस इज अ चेंबर ऑफ कॉमर्स, दिस इज नॉट अ कल्चरल ऑर रिलिजियस ऑर्गनायझेशन. तर बाकी सगळं ठीक आहे, सारस्वतांची प्राईड आणि आपण आपल्या फायद्याचं पण बघायचं. तुम्ही जेव्हा येता इथे लोकांना बघता, तुम्ही आयडेंटिफाय करा की ह्यांच्याकडून आपल्याला काहीतरी मदत होऊ शकते. पुढे बोलणं करून द्यायचं जबाबदारी आमची, पण नंतर फोन उचलून सांगू नका अरे आम्ही त्यांचा फोटो बघितला, मला जरा ओळख करून देशील का. ते कठीण आहे. मग इन जनरल सुद्धा देर वॉज 2 more things that I have to say something about. तुम्ही ओव्हरऑल सुद्धा जेव्हा मी आय एम देअर, सिद्धार्थ इज देअर, द अदर्स आर देअर, द डायरेक्टर्स आर देअर. इफ यू हॅव अ प्लॅन, इफ यू वॉन्ट टू एक्झिक्यूट अ प्लॅन. आपल्या कम्युनिटीत अजून एक गोष्ट आहे, बऱ्याच लोकांच्या लक्षात नाही आली आहे, ते माझ्याही कधी लक्षात आले नव्हते. मागच्या इव्हेंटमध्ये त्या फायनान्स अँड लिगलमध्ये आपली लोक चांगल्या पोझिशन्समध्ये सगळ्या बँकांमध्ये बसले आहेत, सगळ्या NBFCs मध्ये बसले. त्यामुळे फायनान्स हा प्रकार ह्या कम्युनिटीत तरी कुठल्या एंटरप्रेनरला कमी पडणं शक्य नाही. बरोबर. इफ यू हॅव एन एक्झिक्युटेबल प्लॅन, अ गुड प्लॅन टू स्केल अप, तुमच्या ओळखी करून देणं, तुम्हाला थोडं मदत करणं. मदत म्हणजे त्यांच्याशी तुम्हाला बाकी. आय एम टोल्ड गोव्यामध्ये प्रीतीज किचन म्हणून एक आहे. Last summit also Praveen Kakode spoke about it. But we are not just coming on stage every time and saying you please give good reviews to Preeti's Kitchen. No. त्या समिट नंतर गोव्याच्या आमच्या मेंबर्सने त्या प्रीतीज किचन, आपलेच काही मेंबर्स होते, त्यांच्याशी बोलून अरेंज केलं की त्या प्रीतीज किचनमध्ये ते गेले. त्यांनी त्याचं ओव्हरऑल बघितलं, त्यांचा काय बिझनेस मॉडेल एटसेट्रा आहे, त्याचं रिवॅम्पिंग कसं होईल, आणि ह्याचं कोणीही चार्ज केलं नाही त्यांना कन्सल्टन्सीचं. अशी लोक पण आहेत आपल्याकडे की जे विलिंगली मदत करतायत. बट ॲज आय सेड, इफ यू हॅव समथिंग यू अप्रोच अस, यू टॉक टू अस, बट यू ऑल्सो कम टू द इव्हेंट्स. कारण मग तिथे आपल्या ओळखी होतील, आम्ही पण तुम्हाला मदत करू शकतो. सेकंडली, ॲज अ चेंबर वी आर ऑल्सो एनकरेजिंग एंटरप्रेनरशिप अ लॉट. इंडियन चेंबर ऑफ कॉमर्स बरोबर आणि 1-2 ऑर्गनायझेशन्स बरोबर सिद्धार्थ साहेबांचं बोलणं चाललंय. वी वॉन्ट टू एनकरेज स्मॉल एंटरप्रेनर्स. बाकी ॲज आय सेड, अदरवाईज दिस विल बिकम अ म्युच्युअल ॲडमायरेशन सोसायटी. आपण आपल्यातल्याच लोकांना बोलवतोय, म्हणतोय ह्यांनी किती अचीव केलंय, पण त्यांनी केलं अचीव, ते पुढेही करतील. ऑल ऑफ अस आर केपेबल, ॲज आय सेड, ऑफ अचीविंग. ॲज अ चेंबर we also have to do something to encourage entrepreneurship. And entrepreneurship, business ownership is how this community will progress. That is the next step, that is the leap forward that we have to take, and as a chamber we will focus on that henceforth. बाकी लास्ट टाइम बरीच लोक आली, फायनान्स प्रोफेशनल्स. आता तो फायनान्स आणि लिगल नंतर होईल कधीतरी 1-2 वर्षांनी. मध्ये काय, ती जी एवढी लोक फायनान्सवाली जमा झालेली, आय एम शुअर त्यांचे कनेक्ट्स नंतर काही जास्त म्हणजे झाले असतील तिथे, But you have to keep doing these events. But how much can we do individually? That is also a problem. So I encourage whoever is attending, तुम्ही ज्या फील्डमध्ये आहात, तुम्ही इनिशिएटिव्ह घ्या, प्रोजेक्ट्स आणा आमच्याकडे, इव्हेंट आणा. एक तर मी मागच्या वेळेला सुद्धा सांगितलेलं, लिगल सोडून काहीच कळत नाही. आज मला हा सांगितला असता करायला तर मला जमलंच नसतं, का मला माझ्या फील्डचं समजतं. आम्ही डॉक्टर्सचा करायचा प्रयत्न करतोय, प्रॉब्लेम तोच येतोय, आम्हाला काही समजत नाही. तुम्हाला तुमच्या फील्डमधलं समजतंय. सो यू ब्रिंग प्लॅन्स, you take initiative, we will help you execute. But there should now be some sort of organization, some sort of a subcommittee for finance, for legal professionals, and where it's not me and Siddharth who will run it. It is you people, there should be volunteers to run it. सगळं आम्ही नाही करू शकत. आणि ते नाही झालं ना तर त्याचा काही लॉंग टर्म फायदा होणार नाही. तुम्ही नंतर 2-3 वर्षाने भेटाल तेव्हा परत जे काय नेटवर्किंग होईल तेवढंच. Having said that, now I'll come to what I was really called for. That is a vote of thanks. Shraddha madam has already spoken about Saraswat Kalakar, so I will not, the initiatives I have to first speak about. Saraswat Kalakar she has already covered, so that is, आपण एक सोशल मीडिया इन्फ्लुएन्सर्स आणि जनरल न्यूज मीडिया ह्यांचा सुद्धा एक कॉन्क्लेव्ह प्लॅन करतोय लेटर इन द इयर. वी हॅव नॉट फिक्स द डेट, बट वी आर नाव लुकिंग ॲट दॅट ऑल्सो. आयदर अ कॉन्क्लेव्ह ऑर we'll call, just like today's event, we can do an interview also, but it will be in Marathi. Then, in fact, I must say this, की मराठी न्यूज, मी ॲक्च्युली जास्त काही मराठी न्यूज आधी बघायचो पण नाही, पण हल्ली या इलेक्शन्सच्या ह्याच्यात मी जितकी मराठी न्यूज बघतो, दॅट सीम्स टू बी मच बेटर लेवल हेडेड दॅन व्हॉट इज गोइंग ऑन नॅशनल टेलिव्हिजन. They do a very good job at their research and the way they present things. Then we are planning a socials in Lonavala where I encourage all of you to come. हे business setting आणि ठीक आहे, या business setting मध्ये तुम्ही येता बोलता, but your real bonding will take place only when you come to such socials and build personal relationships. Then there is one more initiative that we are planning. That is because we have realized की आपण सगळे येतो, आधी चेंबरच्या बाहेर सारस्वत भेटले तर जेवणाबद्दलच बोलणार. अनफॉर्च्युनेटली चेंबरमध्ये आल्यावर इव्हेंटला सारस्वत भेटल्यावर चेंबर किती छान, आजचा स्पीकर किती चांगला, आज आम्ही किती काय ऐकलं ह्याच्याबद्दल बोलतात. अ लॉट ऑफ देम आय हॅव ऑब्झर्व्ड डू नॉट टॉक अबाउट देअर बिझनेस इवन वेन दे कम फॉर आवर इव्हेंट्स. सो वी वॉन्ट to now have members meetings at least once in 2 months or once a month. त्या members meeting मध्ये अर्धा ते पाऊण तास रिझर्वड असणार, बाकी काही बोलायचं नाही, स्वतःच्या बिझनेस बद्दल बोलायचं, स्वतःच्या प्रोफेशन बद्दल एकमेकांशी बोलायचं, जेवण बिवण आणि चेंबर किती छान नाही बोलायचं त्या ह्याच्यात. Then lastly, there is a conclave we are planning in Goa, and I am told की त्या कॉन्क्लेव्हला सगळ्यांनी का आलं पाहिजे, कारण आपल्याला सगळ्यांना नाहीतर एकत्र भेटायची कधीच ऑपॉर्च्युनिटी मिळत नाही. दॅट कॉन्क्लेव्ह इज द ओनली इव्हेंट इन विच दी पार्टिसिपेशन इज मॅक्सिमम. आणि ते पंढरपूरची वारी करतात तशी वर्षातून एकदा कॉन्क्लेव्हची वारी सगळ्यांनी केलीच पाहिजे, आलंच पाहिजे. And Goa is, of course, all of us have the familial ties with it. Our Kuladevats are there. So everyone is invited to the conclave in Goa. आणि आज जे कोण आले आहेत, ज्यांनी मेंबरशिप घेतली नाही आहे, प्लीज मेंबरशिप घ्या. I will of course call you and hound you for membership, but make my job easier by taking it on your own. Now with a vote of thanks, I would thank of course our 2 speakers today. They have done a very good job. त्यांनी आज जे काही शेअर केलंय हार्डली तुम्हाला कुठे ऐकायला मिळेल. That level of experience which they have shared. सो अँड आय अग्री विथ मॅडम, मी तर स्टॉक्समध्ये घालायचे सोडूनच दिले, कारण माझ्या नशिबी नेहमी बेअर मार्केटच असतं. आजपर्यंत ₹1 कमवला नाही मी स्टॉक्समध्ये. देन Prerna Lotlikar, wonderful hosting. And the type of questions that she has formulated, absolutely wonderful. I thank Shri Amrutkar from Saraswat Bank and Mrs. Kare from Indoco for gracing our event today. I also thank the entire core group and the team and this Tendulkar Hall and staff. And lastly, I would thank all of you कारण तुम्ही सॅटर्डेला आलात. सगळ्यांनी स्वतःची दुपारची झोप थोडीशी कर्टेल करून आला इकडे. So thank you to all of you. Thank you. Over to उत्कर्ष. आहे का की झोपला? अच्छा. He is probably more tired than all of us. So I would draw this event to a conclusion. There are snacks outside which I have not thanked the main person today. ते पनजांनी दिलंय ना सरोज स्वीट्स, मनीषा मराठे, आणि आजचे जे स्नॅक्स दिले आहेत, तुमच्या आधी मी स्नॅक्स खाऊन बघितले, अप्रतिम आहेत. I thought as the organizing team I should take some liberty. Apratim snacks, that is really good. So I thank her also, and I'll invite all of you to step outside for snacks. Thank you. Thank you everyone.